Okay. Here's the scenario. You're a brilliant scientist. You're one of the top researchers in the field of gamma radiation, and have a PhD and all of this. You also have a raging monster inside you that goes berserk and destroys everything around him when you get upset. So when you try to hide away, are you going to go to the center of the most populous city on Earth and get a job in a bottling factory? That's just not smart thinking, unless you hate bottles. And so I don't know. I wasn't impressed with that movie either.
You also wrote the Watchmen screenplay as well. There was I think you got dropped from it halfway through, where they credited it on you anyway. You had some sort of fallout with the studio. What was that about?
No. I didn't have any fallout with the studio.
Oh, sorry.
No, well, what happened was I had started. I was the one who sort of picked up Watchmen after it had been dead for 15 years, and I said, look, I really want to do this as a movie, and we set it up at Universal initially, worked on it for a year there, took it to Revolution, and each time the studios would get to the point where they were like, this is a really complex and somewhat depressing story, and it's really expensive, and they'd just get to a point, they'd want me to change it into a buddy movie or this or that or whatever, and I at a certain point I'd have to say, well, no, that's not Watchmen, and we'd move on. So I had it at Universal and Revolution and Paramount, and with Paul Greengrass, and Paul and I were taking it towards production. We were very close to production when Sherry Lansing left Paramount, and when the new regime came in, we were dead. They killed the movie, and so so then they took it to Warner Brothers, and at that point I told the producers, I'd been on it for about 7 years, and I said, I'm exhausted, and I really am very concerned that they're never going to do this movie correctly. So I stepped aside. Nobody, ejected me from the process. And then Zack Snyder came along, who, I had said from the beginning, I was like, unless there's a director who's just got enough weight, who's a fan of the material and has enough weight to just say, Watchmen is Watchmen and that's the way it should be done, it's never going to happen. And I didn't want to be the guy who was working on the script when somebody came in who didn't feel that way about it, some hack director who just wanted to see the movie get made. And so, I didn't know that Zack Snyder existed at that point. And when he came on board and I saw 300, I was like, okay, I think we're in good hands. But then I wasn't on the movie anymore. So that's sort of how that worked out.
It must be frustrating for you because you seem to have had a lot of input on a lot of these great films, like X-Men and X-Men 2 that you've written, and it just seems that studios want to change that. Has that not motivated you to do more screenwriting? Is that something you still want to do, or is that something that you can kind of back away from?
It sort of motivates you to do less screenwriting. It has motivated me to try to build up a career as a director and a producer so that I have more control over what the final product is. Because what I'm trying to do in general is make these comic book movies, these genre movies, in a serious way. I wanted X-Men to be a real story about real people, and despite the fact that they have these powers, that the world is real, that the threat is real, that the danger is real, and that the motivations are believable and human. And that's a tough thing, I think, sometimes for the studios to wrap their heads around. So I think I will feel much better in as a director than in just a position as a screenwriter.
What kind of stuff have you got coming up in terms of that?
I started a company last year called Dark Hero Studios, and we have, I can't really tell you too much about it. We have a film set up for me to direct this summer, although I hate to say that because, things get bumped and whatnot, but we're looking pretty good on that for my first sort of action film. And then I've got 2 television pilot deals right now to create some shows, which will be very cool. But again, I can't say anything until we announce them. Studio.
I mean, because you're working on Push, Lost Planet as well. You're working on a couple of things,
I did Lost Planet. Well, I'm sort of done with that. I did my drafts and handed them off to Warner. So I don't know what they're doing with it right now. I think they were looking for directors. I've had a number of things, and you see a number of things on my IMDb that it says I have all these things in development. Some of them are true and some of them aren't. And that's just the beauty of the internet.
One of my final questions is, what's next for David Hayter?
Well, just keep on keeping on. I'm gonna try to establish myself as I say, as more of a director and a producer. Keep writing, but mostly for myself, for my own projects, and I mean, that's what the next 10 years is about. If the first 10 years was about becoming an actor, and the second 10 years was about becoming an established writer, and I think the third 10 years will be about becoming an established director. That's my goal.
Hey, David, I want to give you an opportunity here. You've got so many great fans out there that love you and love your work. I want to give you the opportunity to say anything you want to them right now. So here it is.
Well, I hopefully my fans know how much love I have for them, and because I try to talk to them through my IMDb message board page, but I'm just so everybody knows how immensely grateful I am for everybody's support and their love of Snake and how that has residually rubbed off on me. It is extremely touching and gratifying, and just I hope everybody knows how hard I'm going to continue to work to keep them all entertained.
Oh, David, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. It's been truly an honor and a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Well, it was a great pleasure, Nick. Great questions, and thank you so much